Hello children, welcome back to the video session. So this is a theory video session for you, and in this class we are going to discuss about towns, traders and craft persons. So the previous chapters we discussed about the Mughal emperors and different buildings and their rulers. So now we are going to discuss about different towns, traders and crafts persons. So the towns, you all know very well how the towns formed, and traders are the persons who import and export goods to different areas and regions in a country. And crafts persons are the person who make handmade things, for example toys, furnitures, etc. So let us discuss the main subheadings we are going to see in this lesson. So the modules are administrative towns, pilgrimage centers, Hampi, Surat, Mazulipatnam, traders and towns. So here pilgrimage centers is the place where people go for a tour. It is like a tour for the holy places, for example for temples. So going tour for a temple is called as pilgrimage. And Hampi, Surat and Mazulipatnam are some of the places. And next is traders and towns we are going to discuss. So first let us discuss about the administrative towns. Administrative in the sense you all know very well the ruling towns. First let us discuss about Tanjavur. It is the capital of the Chola Empire. Tanjavur is the capital of Chola Empire. It has perennial river Kaveri. Perennial in the sense you all know it is a it will get water throughout the year. It will have water. The river Kaveri will flow water throughout the year. It is called as perennial. And Kaveri river flows in this town. And King Rajaraja Chola built Rajeshwara temple in this town. So you all know very well. In Tanjavur, Rajaraja Chola temple is the big temple which is very famous. It is present in this town. And town people praise for its architect Kunjaramallan Rajaraja Perundachan. So it has a very good architect, different architect, and it was designed by Kunjaramallan Rajaraja Perundachan. And he carved his name on the temple's wall. So the king's name was carved, written on the temple wall, and inside it has a massive Shivalinga. Massive Shivalinga in the sense very big Shivalinga. Yes, you can see in the picture. Salyas were a class of weavers of Tanjavur and Urayur. So Salyas is a group of people who belong to the community of weavers. They belong to Tanjavur and Urayur. They produced cloth for flags to be used in temple festivals, and cloths of fine cottons were for the king and the nobility. So pure cotton is only for the kings and the nobility, and cloths of coarse cotton, the little bit impure cotton, is meant for the masses. Next one is Swami Malai Stapatis. Stapatis are sculptures making exquisite bronze idols and tall ornamental bell metal lamps. So you can see the picture. They were called as Stapatis. They are the people who make the bronze idols and tall ornamental bell metal lamps. So the big metal lamps were made by the Stapatis who belong to Swami Malai. Next is pilgrimage center, the holy place. There were palaces with mandapas or pavilions, and kings held court in these mandapas, issued orders to their subordinates, and barracks were also there for the army. There were palaces with mandapas or pavilions. So the big mandapas will be there, and pavilions is like a ground, big ground. In this Tanjavur temple, it consists of mandapas as well as the pavilions. Then kings held court in these mandapas. So in these mandapas, the king will be having a court to issue order to his subordinates. And barracks were also there for the army. Barracks, in the sense, it is a place for the soldiers to stay. So that is called as barracks. So barracks were also there for the army. Subheadings we are going to see in this lesson. So the modules are administrative towns, pilgrimage centers, Hampi, Surat, Mazulipatnam, traders and towns. So here pilgrimage centers is the place where people go for a tour. It is like a tour for the holy places. For example, for temples. So going tour for a temple is called as pilgrimage. And Hampi, Surat and Mazulipatnam are some of the places. And next is traders and towns we are going to discuss. Next is metal crafts under Cholas. So Cholas made metal crafts, different ideals they made through metals. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. Alloy in the sense combination. So bronze is a combination of copper and tin, and bell metal contained a greater proportion of tin than bronze, and it produces a bell-like sound. So in the temples you can see the big bells which produce more sound. So in this bell, the metal is mixed in the proportion like in which tin is tin has greater proportion and bronze has less proportion, which can produce big sound. And Chola bronze statues made by lost wax technique. So it is one of a technique called lost wax. So Chola's bronze statues will be made using the lost wax technique. So lost wax process is a process in which using wax design will be made. First a design will be prepared using wax. So it will be in a mold form. So the molten metal is there now, the liquid stage of metal, molten metal. So after preparing the molten metal, we have to pour the molten metal into the wax, into the molded wax. So after the molten metal comes into a solid state, the shape, different designs and shape of the idols will be formed. So after that, the wax which is outside the metal will be melted and drained away. So this is the lost wax technique. So Cholas will be mostly using this lost wax technique to create different statues. Technique we can prepare best. Next is pilgrimage center, the holy place. There were palaces with mandapas or pavilions, and kings held court in these mandapas, issued orders to their subordinates, and barracks were also there for the army. There were palaces with mandapas or pavilions. So the big mandapas will be there, and pavilions is like a ground, big ground. In this Tanjavur temple, it consists of mandapas as well as the pavilions. Then kings held court in these mandapas. So in these mandapas, the king will be having a court to issue order to his subordinates. And barracks were also there for the army. Barracks, in the sense, it is a place for the soldiers to stay. So that is called as barracks. So barracks were also there for the army. Next one is Samantas. So Samantas or Zamindars built a fortified palace in and around these towns. About Samantas we discussed in the earlier chapters, right? So Samantas are the subordinates of the kings. So they have fortified palaces in and around the towns, and traders, artisans have to pay the tax on what they produce, and donated right to collect these taxes to local temples. So the Samantas gave the right to collect the taxes to the local temples. So temples built by traders and rich merchants, and detailed of these rights recorded in inscriptions. So all the different rights given to different people will be recorded in the inscriptions. And temples built by the traders and rich merchants have the right to collect the taxes. Next one is Hampi. So you can see it is a place near Karnataka. So Hampi was a town founded in the year 1336. It is located in Krishna Tungabhadra basin and it is the center of Vijayanagara Empire. It is the center of Vijayanagara Empire. Next is Surat. It is one of the town and it is an important trading center on western coast of India. Hub of textile industry since medieval period. So during medieval age there was big importance for the textile industry in Surat and many wars and battles fought to control Surat because it is a very big trading center of textiles. And now it's time to test the knowledge. And Surat city is famous for dash textile, artwork, spices and metal work. Try to find out the answer, children. The answer is option A, textiles. Next is Masulipattnam. So fishing in Masulipattnam. Masulipattnam is famous for fishing. Literal meaning of Masulipattnam or Machlipattnam is fish port town. So Machli in Hindi will say what is Machli? It means the fish. So it is famous for fishing. Literal meaning of Masulipattnam is Machlipattnam or fish port town. And it is a city located on the delta of the Krishna river. You all know what is delta? For example, I'll say the area which is surrounded by water on all the sides, we call it as island in the sea. Yes, so in the river, the place which is covered by water on all the sides is called as delta. So city located on the delta of Krishna river, and 17th century witnessed intensive trade activities. So there was during 17th century they created an intensive trade activities. Dutch and English East India Company tried to dominate Masulipattnam due to its port on the Andhra coast. So Masulipattnam had a port. So the Dutch and the English East India Company, they tried to dominate Masulipattnam. They wanted Masulipattnam to bring under their control. And Dutch built a fort at Masulipattnam. Next, trade. The trading activities of Masulipattnam. Qutub Shahi rulers of Golconda tried to control trading activities of East India Company and imposed royal monopolies on the sale of textiles, spices and other items. Qutub Shahi rulers who belonged to Golconda, they tried to control the East India Company because they are trading, they are exporting goods from India. Yes, they are exporting textiles, spices and other things to their own country. So the Qutub Shahi rulers, they controlled and they imposed a monopoly. Monopoly in the sense the sole trader for a particular thing. So that is called as monopoly. So this Qutub Shahi rulers, they imposed monopolies on the sale of textiles, spices and other items. It is told that the English East India Company should only trade with the Qutub Shahi ruler. So this is called as monopoly. Next is trading groups in Masulipattnam. Severe competition among Golconda nobles, Persian merchants, Telugu, Komati, Chettis, European traders. So there was a severe competition among these much of peoples. So the trading activities made city populous and prosperous. Masulipattnam was changed into a big trading city. And this much of people have a big competition, and this made the Masulipattnam to grow popular and prosperous. Next is annexation of Golconda. How the other dynasty annexed, bought Golconda under control. Mughals attempted to extend their power to Golconda. The Mughal rulers, they attempted to annex Golconda. Provincial governor Mir Jumla played off Dutch and the English against each other. And 1686 to 1687, Golconda annexed by Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. So this is how the Mir Jumla played off Dutch and the English against each other, and thus Golconda was annexed by the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. Textiles. Then traders and towns. Uh, you can see the pictures of Dutch East India Company, French East India Company, and English East India Company. These much of traders from the European countries came towards India, and European countries searched for spices and textiles to be imported to Europe and West Asia. So they wanted to trade the textiles and spices for their country. And English, Dutch and French expanded commercial activities in East. So Indian traders Mullah Abdul Ghaffur and Virji Vora competed with European powers. Mullah Abdul Ghaffur and Virji Vora were the Indian traders who competed with European powers. They owned large number of ships, even though the European companies used naval power to gain control of the sea trade. So naval power in the sense they have more, in Tamil they'll tell us Kappar Padai. So European companies have more naval power and they gain the control of the sea trade and forced the Indian traders Mullah Abdul Ghaffur and Virji Vora to work as their agents. And English emerged as most successful commercial and political power in the subcontinent. Next one is Hampi. So you can see it is a place near Karnataka. So Hampi was a town founded in the year 1336. It is located in Krishna Tungabhadra basin and it is the center of Vijayanagara Empire. It is the center of Vijayanagara Empire. Next is about Vasco da Gama. He was a Portuguese sailor and sailed through Atlantic to the African coast and crossed Indian Ocean and reached Calicut in the year 1498, who found the sea route to India from Europe. And sea routes opened up profitable trade and English, Dutch and French sailors followed the route. So they thought that sea routes will be more profitable if we do the trading activities, and English, Dutch and the French sailors followed the route of Vasco da Gama and came towards India, who wiped out all our prosperous wealth. Next is about Christopher Columbus. He is an Italian. He believed Earth as round and decided to sail westwards across the Atlantic Ocean to find sea route to India, and landed in the West Indies in the year 1492. So we all know Christopher Columbus is the person who found the American continent. So he believed that earth is round and decided to sail throughout the year, and he reached India through sea route, and he landed in West Indies in 1942, 1492. So now we came to the end of our session, children. So we saw different pilgrim cities. The state capitals were developed into administrative towns, and different religious places developed into towns, and villages placed on the trade routes developed into big trading centers, and different artists and craft persons played a crucial role in the development of towns and cities. However, whatever wealth we have, everything was wiped by the British people. How they came to India for trading activities, but they implemented their power in India, and all the profits were taken away to British. So first let us discuss about the administrative. Next is metal crafts under Cholas. So Cholas made metal crafts, different ideals they made through metals. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. Alloy in the sense combination. So bronze is a combination of copper and tin, and bell metal contained a greater proportion of tin than bronze, and it produces a bell-like sound. So in the temples you can see the big bells which produce more sound. So in this bell the metal is mixed in. Next one is Swami Malay. Next is about the lost wax technique. I taught you early in the last slide. The lost wax, first an image of wax was made, and this was covered with clay and allowed to dry, and it was heated, and a tiny hole was made in the clay cover, and molten wax was drained out through this hole, and molten metal was then poured into the clay mold through the hole. Once the metal cooled and solidified, the clay cover was removed, and image was cleaned and polished. So this is how the lost wax technique is working. Once the image is made through wax, and the design what they want to do, they will do it inside the wax. So the wax will be like a mold. Now molten metal will be poured inside the clay mold, and once the metal molten, it is a stage of liquid, and once it is changed into a solid state, the clay cover was removed, and image was cleared and polished, cleaned and polished. Thank you, children. I hope you have understood the lesson very well, and let us meet with a new video session. Thank you all.